Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Translation Translation O best of kings, one who is faithful, who is always bearing the glories of the supreme personality of God, who is always engaged in the culture of consciousness and in the hearing of the Lord's activities, where his throne becomes eligible to see the supreme personality of God face to face. Constant engagement and transparent loving service of Master means constantly hearing the glories of the Lord. The principles of Bhakti Yoga, Shraddha Kirtana Vishwasana Adasana, Acyuta Dasi Sattva are the only means by which perfection can be attained. Simply by hearing of the glories of the Lord, one is elevated to the transcendental position. Only Gyanatana Dasi Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. Every verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes we get these really succinct, this is a short passage, and so much that's into it. Even if we look at the words in the Sanskrit words, the word, we have faithful, we have this cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Hearing, we have this whole process packed into this one verse, which is very important meditation practice. So one who is faithful in this first point, one who is always hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of God, who is always engaged in the culture of Christian consciousness, and in hearing the Lord's activities, very soon becomes eligible to see the Supreme Personality of God face to face. Now, yeah, what an amazing statement. Yes? And I'm sure we can all admit that this is our goal. This is something that we'd like to achieve in this lifetime. I'm sure Prabhupada has given us a process by which we can achieve that. And these verses in Srimad Bhagavatam should give us confidence in our process to achieve this most great result of being able to see this face to face. If we develop this quality of prema, of pure love, faithful, always hearing, Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhava that constant engagement, what does constant engagement in Krishna's service mean? It means to constantly hearing his glories. It doesn't have to be complicated. We just need to constantly hear and meditate on Krishna. This is the culture. Krishna consciousness is an internal state of being. That yes, we have so many activities that we trigger in Krishna consciousness. So many things to keep our senses engaged and involved. And it's very important. All of our aspects of devotional service so that we are absorbed, so that we can constantly think of Krishna, because we constantly think of Krishna's service. Which festivals come next, and what are we doing now for Krishna? And while we are busily engaged in Krishna's service, internally we should be very engaged in remembering Krishna. We're hearing of Krishna constantly, serving Krishna, using our senses, then our internal state should be in this remembrance of Krishna. It all works together. Without the hearing about Krishna's glories, that remembrance is not going to be as fixed. Srila Prabhupada has given us this very simple, and we hear it again and again throughout Srila Prabhupada. We need to hear the glories of Krishna. We need to constantly engage in hearing. And I'm sure we've all heard many descriptions of this and aspects of this process of hearing and how central it is. That hearing is our primary sense. We need to engage our ears and always hearing our vision. And that starts our remembrance. This constant engagement can only be there through hearing. And Srila Prabhupada gives us this wonderful verse. So I thought I'd look at Prabhupada's code, because if we remember from the second canto of the Acyuta, Prahlad Maharaj speaks this verse. He speaks this verse in really actually quite an amazing situation. He's on the lap of his father, and we may remember the whole pastime, the whole lead up to this situation. Prahlad is adored, and his father is the king. So Prahlad was entrusted to his teachers at the school to learn the ways of the demons, to learn politics and diplomacy, and what skills he would require to be a good leader. And Prahlad was presented to his father after some training in the school, and he started asking, what's the at school? And Prahlad begins to speak about devotional service. And the first time Prahlad does this, Hiranyakashipu kind of laughs, and he's like, oh, what enemy has infiltrated the school and is teaching this child about devotional service? So Hiranyakashipu at that point, he sort of laughs, the teachers get chastised, and the teachers take Prahlad back to the school and continue this process of education, training. So after some time of his education, he's again presented to his father. That he's on Hiranyakashipu's lap, and Hiranyakashipu asks him again the same question. What is the best thing to learn in school? Now, Prahlad, he's already had some exposure before, and there was not a good result. The same thing, even more actually. Chinkatam, I'm not sure.
Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vantanam Prastyam Sakyam Atma Nivedana Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktish Chen Navalakshana Kriyata Bhagavatyatha Tan Manye Ditam Uttamam. So Prahlad Maharaj says to his father, the king of the demons, you can't really underestimate this situation, very unique. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental, holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. That's such a statement of pure devotion to his father, the king of the demons. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport today that these principles of bhakti yoga, these 9 processes of devotional service, are the only means by which perfection can be attained. They are the only means. And the foremost, Srila Prabhupada talks, this is a very long purport that Prabhupada gives after this, and he goes into each of one of these 9 processes of devotional service. If you have time, please read through this. It's very, very nice descriptions of each of the processes. This is the 7th canto, 5th chapter, 23 and 24th verse. So Srila Prabhupada, he speaks about these 9 processes of devotional service, and he explains that By performing all of them, or even by performing one of them, one can attain perfection, because they are so intrinsically linked that within one there are also aspects of the other 9 processes of other 8 processes of devotional service. However, Prabhupada does give very strong emphasis to the first process of hearing. So much so that actually he says that unless one hears about the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord, one cannot clearly understand the other processes of devotion. This is very clear, and this is our foundation. That hearing process needs to be applied. We have to apply the hearing process in our life. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for us to understand the other processes of devotional service. So I'll read a little bit of Prabhupada's purport here because it's very nice. So Prabhupada describes Shravanam. Hearing of the holy name of the Lord, Shravanam, is the beginning of devotional service. Although any one of the 9 processes is sufficient, in chronological order, the hearing of the holy name of the Lord is the beginning. Indeed, it is essential. As enunciated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaito Darpana Marjana, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is cleansed of the material conception of life, which is due to the dirty modes of material nature. When the dirt is cleansed from the core of one's heart, one can realize the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchid Ananda Vigraha. So just as we're hearing in the verse today, that we'll be able to see Krishna face to face, everything is cleansed away. Thus, by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one comes to the platform of understanding the personal form of the Lord. After realizing the Lord's form, one can realize the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And when one can understand his transcendental qualities, one can understand the Lord's associates. In this way, a devotee advances further and further toward complete understanding of the Lord as he awakens in realization of the Lord's holy name, transcendental form, and qualities. This is all coming from hearing. So by hearing the Lord's holy name, which is, yes, when we're chanting, and also through Shastra, and we're hearing the glories of Krishna through the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, through any of Srila Prabhupada's books, we are constantly hearing him sing the glories of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that hearing from the text of Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the most important process of hearing. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of the transcendental chanting of the holy name, and therefore the chanting and hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam are transcendentally full of mellows. And Prabhupada says the best course is to hear of the holy name, form, and qualities from a pure devotee. So this is very clear, very clear instructions that we're given on how to hear. And it's so fundamental in every single devotee's life. We never come to a stage where we're not having to engage ourselves in hearing. And by hearing about Krishna, we want to hear more about Krishna. Yes, it's very natural. Once we hear something of the glories of the Lord, we become attracted because Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's personality, Krishna himself, everything about Krishna is very attractive. And Krishna appears in so many different ways, so many different forms to attract our attention. And he attracts our attention by hearing. You know, he attracts us because we want to hear about him. So simply by beginning the hearing process, then we will attain more taste for the hearing process. Yes. And in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it speaks about how we get that taste for hearing, how we get the urge to hear. And we understand that's through serving the devotees, through service to the pure devotee, as Shukadev Goswami explains. By serving the pure devotee, then one gains the affinity for hearing the message of the Vasudeva. So we serve the devotees, we serve the pure devotees in many ways, but a very strong way in which we serve the devotee is by hearing from them. And we actually need to hear what's written from the pure devotees, the talks of the pure devotees, recounting the pastimes of the Lord. And today is a very special day. It's the disappearance of Srila Rupa Goswami. So I thought this ties in very nicely. So I wanted to discuss a little bit about Srila Rupa Goswami. We can meditate on him and beg for his mercy so that we may become more attracted to hearing about Krishna. So Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Srila Rupa Goswami is, Srila Prabhupada calls him the father of devotion. In the preface to the Nectar of Instruction, one of Rupa Goswami's books, Sri Upadesha Amrita, Srila Prabhupada writes there that the Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. We are aspiring Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami, followers of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur, he sings, Rupa Raghunatha Pade, Haibe Akuti, Habe Hama Bhujabose Yugalapati. Narottam Das is praying, saying, when will I be eager to understand the books given by the Goswamis? Because when I develop that eagerness, that is how I will be able to understand the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. As we know, we can't approach Radha and Krishna on our own. We approach Radha and Krishna through our previous acharyas. And specifically we approach Radha and Krishna's pastimes, these transcendental pastimes of the Lord, through the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They're directly empowered by Lord Chaitanya to give us the process of devotional service. So we have Rupa Goswami's books, which Srila Prabhupada has translated as Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. And these books, I'm sure everybody has studied. They are the foundation of our devotional life. If we look at Nectar of Instruction, we find Rupa Goswami, he takes us in just a few verses from sense control, controlling the senses, right up to pure love of God at Radha Kund. We have this is what he was empowered by Lord Chaitanya to give. And this is what he dedicated his life to give. And the way in which we repay him, we show our gratitude, is we study his books. We study his books and his writings. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to this song of Narottam Das Thakur, the very nice purport also in our songbook. Some of the songs don't have direct purports from Srila Prabhupada, but this one does. And Prabhupada says that Rupa Goswami is the father of devotion. And that one has to learn of the loving conjugal affairs of Radha and Krishna through the teachings of the 6 Goswamis. There's no other way to approach those pastimes. So, just as a short background of Srila Rupa Goswami, he was born in 1489 and grew up in the area of which is now Bangladesh. So Rupa Goswami's father had been the private secretary of the Sultan of Bengal. So he was a very qualified man. He has 2 brothers. Sanatan was his elder brother. There's Rupa Goswami, and then there's Vallabha, or we also hear him named Anupam. So the three brothers, even from their very childhood, it's described they were absorbed in bhakti. And later in their life, I was reading, they actually made ponds where they lived, and they called them Radhakund and Shamakund, and they were very much absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And they were such highly qualified, intelligent men that they attracted the attention of the then Muslim ruler, Nawab Hussein Shah, and he engaged them in his service. And he gave them names suited to their position. So Rupa Goswami became Dabir Kas, and Sanatana Goswami was Sakar Mal. And by their close association with the Muslim government, they lost their standing as Brahmins. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately accepted them as Goswami. He did not see that their association had demoted them at all. So the first meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we see the quality and the humility of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. So this happened in 1514 in Ramkeli. And we can read about this in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the beginning of Madhya Lila. So at this time, Lord Chaitanya, he had traveled to the area of Ramkeli and he was performing Sankirtan there. It's described that in his heart, he went to that area just to meet the two brothers. And he was performing Sankirtan in the area, and it was a Muslim-ruled area. And so he was attracting quite a bit of attention. And one of the high ministers of the Nawab, he was downplaying it to the Nawab. No, this is nothing to worry about. This is just some local person doing something in the street. But the Nawab actually seemed like quite a very respectable person, and he spoke to Rupa Goswami about Lord Chaitanya, and Rupa Goswami was describing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and actually the Nawab was taking Rupa Goswami's advice, was taking his opinion. So it was at this time when Lord Chaitanya is in the area that Rupa and Sanatana went to meet Lord Chaitanya. And it's described that they went to meet him in the middle of the night. And in great humility, both the brothers, Rupa and Sanatana, they took bunches of straw between their teeth and bound a cloth around their neck and fell down like rods before the Lord. You know, we say Dandavat, you know, and they fell down like rods. And Rupa and Sanatana, upon seeing Lord Chaitanya, they became so overwhelmed that they began to cry. And Lord Chaitanya picked them up and assured them of all their good fortune. They began so humbly offering prayers to the Lord. And they were describing themselves as even less than Jagai and Madai, the worst of the worst, because of their association with lowly people. So there's very wonderful descriptions here of their expression of their humility. We too are millions and millions of times inferior to Jagai and Madai. We are more degraded, fallen, and sinful than they. Now, this is a big statement, because if we remember from the pastimes of Jagai and Madai, the sins they had committed were immeasurable. And yet Rupa and Sanatana were seeing themselves like that. Honestly, this is an honest expression. Lord Chaitanya, he responds, wow. Okay, this one is very sweet. This is the brother still speaking to Lord Chaitanya. We are very depressed at being unfit candidates for your mercy. Yet since we have heard of your transcendental qualities, we are very much attracted to you. Indeed, we are like a dwarf who wants to capture the moon. Although we are completely unfit, a desire to receive your mercy is awakening within our mind. Lord Chaitanya, he responds to the brothers and he tells them, you are my old servants. And immediately he accepts them. And he says, from this day on, you'll be known as Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana. And Lord Chaitanya says to them, please abandon your humility, for my heart is breaking to see you so humble. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he begins to instruct the brothers, and he tells them, actually, I had no business in coming here. My only business in coming here was to meet you two. And he tells them, birth after birth, you're both my eternal servants. He placed his hands on the heads of them, and they, in return, they immediately placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. So the Lord Chaitanya immediately accepted them as his eternal servants, and he requested all of the devotees there to be merciful to them. So this is an incredible, incredible display of mercy. So after this meeting, then they actually spoke to Lord Chaitanya, and they explained to him that although the king of Bengal, although the Nalpur Shah is being respectful to you, we still think it's better that you leave because we can't believe these people overall, you know. So then Lord Chaitanya left that place. Rupa Goswami, he met again with Lord Chaitanya, and he met him later at Prayag. And we have Srila Prabhupada translated this book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Yes, these are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Rupa Goswami. This is the instructions of Lord Chaitanya to Rupa Goswami at Dashashvamedha Ghat. He instructed Rupa Goswami for 10 days there on all the confidential aspects of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya gave this empowerment to Rupa Goswami to then go and write. As we know, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he only left 8 verses, and he empowered his devotees to write about the process of devotional service. And this is how he empowered Rupa Goswami to do that. Later, again, Rupa Goswami spent, I think it was 10 months with Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri, and there are very sweet descriptions of their time and instruction that was given in the Anchilila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. One very sweet pastime there is after Rupa Goswami had witnessed the ecstatic expression of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on Rath Yatra, and Rupa Goswami, he had been empowered by the Lord to write, so he wrote this verse on, I think it was on a banana leaf. Forgive me if I'm not remembering that properly. And he hid it in the roof of his hut. And Lord Chaitanya, he found that. And when he read this verse, this was it's a very, very intimate verse describing the innermost feelings of Lord Chaitanya. And when Lord Chaitanya read this verse, he was very happy. He was overwhelmed to see the understanding of Rupa Goswami, how deeply Rupa Goswami could understand his innermost feelings and innermost thoughts. So much so that Rupa Goswami became known as Rasacharya, authority on all the divine mellows. He fully understood, he fully understands the feelings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after this time, he spent 10 months with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. And after that time, he returned to Vrindavan. He was fully empowered, fully equipped to write. And this is what he did, writing the Bhakti Shastras that we study. And we can perfect, as Prabhupada says today, we can perfect our lives through this hearing process. And if we can hear the instructions given to us by pure devotees, like empowered followers of the Lord, then our lives become perfect. Our lives are perfect because we have that opportunity, and then it's just up to us to take it. We just need to take the opportunity and engage ourselves, as Prabhupada describes in the purport today, in the culture of Krishna consciousness. What is that culture? It's a very rich thing. Krishna consciousness is not external. It's not coming and bowing down and walking out the door and thinking of 100 other things. You know, the culture of Krishna consciousness is internal. And yes, we've been given this process of devotional service that takes care of engaging our senses, engaging our body, our mind, our words, everything we are should be engaged in the service of Krishna. And internally, that engagement should lead to remembrance of Krishna by hearing of his pastimes, hearing the instructions of the Lord, and hearing the glories of the Lord's devotees. Because this pleases Krishna. Yeah. When I was reading different things about hearing for this class, a very simple point that really got to me was actually hearing about Krishna pleases Krishna. He's happy when we hear about him. And this is the goal of our life. Yes, how can we make Krishna happy? How can we try to please Krishna? Krishna is pleased when we hear about him. It doesn't have to be complicated. We hear Krishna's names when we chant, we hear from the Shastra, we hear from the devotees. We take every opportunity to hear and remember. And nowadays it's very easy. Everyone always walks around with their phone. Everyone, we can have lectures, we can have audio books, we can have classes, we can listen to, we're reading, we're chanting, so that absorption in hearing is readily available for us. We just need to take the opportunity. Take it up. I think I'll put my voice to rest. And thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. Anyone would like to make some additions or share some realizations? We had a very wonderful time in our Vaishnava calendar, full of service, full of festivals, full of hearing and remembering. Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.